Hi, my name's John McCann, and I'm going to talk about improving post-operative recovery with compressive goggles. Prior to designing the post-operative goggles, my patient's biggest concern with recovery from surgery was bruising and swelling in the face. This was particularly bad around the eyelids. The resolution of bruising and swelling in the eyelids was the rate-limiting factor for recovery. I thought if I do something to make this rate-limiting factor easier for the patient, it would improve their post-operative recovery and shorten their post-operative recovery. I used lasers for about 5 years to make incisions, and I found that during surgery they had less bleeding and less bruising immediately after surgery, but if you looked at them the day after surgery, they had the same amount of bruising that patients had who were operated on with traditional surgical instruments. I also found that the scar that was left by the laser looked worse a couple of years after surgery than the scars that were left by traditional surgical instruments, so I abandoned using the laser as a surgical instrument. I also tried using Arnica montana, which is a herbal preparation that is supposed to reduce bruising. I found this was of no benefit to my patients. I had noted that when I operated on only one side of the face, the patient had much less bruising than when I operated on both sides of the face. I thought this was because I always used a compressive bandage on the one eye when I operated on it. So the pressure patch was doing something to help reduce bruising and swelling, but I had to come up with some way to apply pressure over both of the eyelids without causing the patient to be without vision. I was spending a weekend skiing up in Park City, and I was riding up on the lift contemplating how to solve this problem on how to apply pressure over both eyelids. I was looking down at the skiers below me, and I noticed all of the ski goggles. I thought that ski goggles could be modified in a way that would apply pressure over the eyes but would allow patients to remove the goggles when they needed to remove them for vision. So I headed home, I tore apart my perfectly good pair of ski goggles and began to modify those ski goggles to become compressive dressings. I had to modify them many times before they were even tolerable wearing all night long. But in the end, I came up with a version that seemed to work well. I tested out on my patients, and it took no time at all to find out that they were a success. I did a study comparing 20 patients who wore goggles after surgery and compared them to 20 patients who didn't wear goggles after surgery. I found that at 1 week after surgery, there was 300% less bruising in patients who wore the goggles, and at 2 weeks after surgery, 500% less bruising. The feedback from my patients is actually very positive. Many of my patients had a friend or a relative who underwent a similar sort of surgery, and they saw them in the immediate post-operative period. They comment that they can't believe how much less bruising and swelling they have than their friend or relative. The only substantial group of patients who've done poorly with the goggles are those who are claustrophobic. Ironically, patients who don't have claustrophobia report that they feel more comfortable with the goggles on and feel as if the goggles protect their eyes. I have patented the goggles, and I'm working on partnering with a manufacturer to make them more widely available. But for now, the goggles are handmade by one of my employees at the practice. I package the goggles with some drops and dressings that people need to use after surgery, and patients pay for these prior to undergoing surgery. I can think of several ways that the goggles benefit my patients. First of all, having bruises on your face makes people feel bad about themselves, and by reducing the amount of bruising, people just feel better during the recovery period. Also, the rate-limiting factor for recovery from many facial plastic surgery procedures is waiting for the bruising and swelling around the eyelids to resolve. By shortening that period, I get people back into a normal social calendar and a normal work schedule in a faster and a shorter period of time. So the recovery is easier for patients and the recovery is shorter.